Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning on this Thursday, June 19th. And I wanted to come on here because this morning I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw a post by somebody I follow and support here on YouTube called George Garza Productions. And they do these animations, they've been doing these little animations of, MLP, Thomas the Tank Engine, Bambi, you name it. And throughout the years, they've been getting a lot better to the point that their animations have gotten so good that they can almost pass as actual official animations from these properties, mostly My Little Pony. And that's what brings me to the subject here because he posted something on on YouTube. It wasn't a video; it was a post, and he was talking about somebody by the name of Blue Bolt who did a video. And before I say anything, I want to emphasize that everybody has a right to their opinion. Whether we agree with it or not, everybody has a right to their opinion. But anyway, he posted about Blue Bolt's video. And Blue Bolt apparently dedicated a video where he was on camera talking about why Sparity, which is short for Spike and Rarity, is the worst ship in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And apparently he mentioned George several times in the video. I don't know if he mentioned me or anybody else that supports the ship, but George, saw that or saw and heard that he was mentioned a couple of times. And look, there's no doubt that people don't like the MLP shipping of Spike and Rarity. There's no doubt about that. That's been pretty much common since the beginning of the show. But I think to quote what James Rolfe said in his first collab, well, he'd done a collab before with him, kind of a series of collabs of the critic versus nerd, showdown and all that led to the brawl video they did back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But the first collab review that they did together, um, there was a there was a line that James said in the video, in the review. It was a review of the making of the Coming Out of the Shells tours, which was the uh, kind of say, I guess you could say, mockumentary of behind the scenes mockumentary of how the Ninja Turtles became a band and everything. And James had a quote in there that I think emphasizes this very well. Because the way they were playing off the documentary, they were acting, or they were making it seem like the turtles were, real. They were like flesh and blood and all that, which they weren't. And basically he said this one line in there after you've seen all these people, these producers, record recorders and all that and so on, talking up the turtles and everything. James comes on with this line saying, "They're not real. Stop acting like they've been real." And that's it. And to me, that pretty much emphasizes exactly what fans need to understand. Just because, you may not like the Sparity ship and others do, you have to remember that they're not real. Stop acting like they're real. Anybody can ship anybody they want when it comes to fiction. End of discussion. Okay? End of discussion. I mean, let me give you a good example of what I'm talking about. One of the comics I've read for a long time was Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog. Archie Comics presentation of Sonic the Hedgehog. And one of the pairings that ended up happening, even though it was part of the Mobius Years Later saga, one of the pairings that ended up happening, and it was start only as a joke at first, but basically it took off like wildfire. But one of the pairings that was made for that was Tails and Mina. Miles Tails Prower and Mina Mongoose. And Mina Mongoose is looked at to be around the same age, maybe a bit younger than Sonic. And yet, she gets paired in the Mobius Years Later story arc with Tails. Now, when Ian Flynn took over that arc and everything, and pretty much brought, put a pin on it, a little bow on it. He could have easily had Tails not be with Mina after the whole time, shabacle, if you will, that ended the first iteration of Mobius years later by Ken Penders. He could have easily said, "Okay, I'm not going to do Mina," but no, he kept Mina in there as Tails' wife and gave a reason why Tails and Mina and their family still were as they were and still could remember the old timeline. So, yeah, if Ian wanted to, he could have got rid of that, that pairing. Because, again, it started out as a joke, but it took off like wildfire. And him being a fan himself decided, hey, I'm just going to keep it in there because, hey, it's already established. Let's just go with it. And he gave a reason for it remaining. The thing is, this pairing of Spike and Rarity had been going on since the beginning. And Lauren Faust, when she said what she did a couple of years ago about it, she didn't say it as, oh, you need to take what I'm saying as serious and as gospel and all that. No. Lauren was saying it in a very humorous, gesturing way. She knows, Lauren knows that fans love this pairing. They support this ship. You can't tell me that the convention she's gone to, that she hasn't met up, took pictures, and autographed a lot of stuff that shows support for the Sparity shipping. You can't tell me she hasn't, because she probably has. Same with Megan McCarthy, same with Nicole Dubuque. They've all done it. Same with M.A. Larson, Amy Rogers, Jim Miller, you name it. They've probably, they probably took pictures with people that support the ship. They probably signed autographs for the for fans to support the ship when it comes to the two. You name it. So if Lauren didn't want it in there, to begin with, if she didn't want it in there to begin with, it wouldn't have been in there. Spike falling for Rarity, head over scales in the first episode wouldn't have been in there. Him constantly trying to impress Rarity, trying to be with Rarity, and then Rarity finally, in a way, acknowledging that she knows about his crush, and she kind of maybe feels the same way, sort of, in the season 2 episode Secret of My Excess. It's like, if they didn't want it in there, it wouldn't have been in there. Same with Megan McCarthy. Megan may have her opinions on the ship, but she put moments in there because she knows that there were fans, and still are fans, that supported the pairing. And guess what? There are moments in in the following seasons, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, before Nicole Dubuque took over, that have Sparity showcased. There are moments, very many moments, but there are moments. Nicole Dubuque, she decided to take it to another level. She decided that she enjoyed what Lauren did with the pairing, and what did she do? She decided that from season 8 to the end, which was season 9, that she would essentially say, let me put more emphasis on Spike and Rarity and kind of make it like a semi-official romance. Not an official romance, but kind of a pseudo semi-official romance. And guess what? She kind of did that. She kind of did that, and people liked it. I mean, if they didn't want the pairing to happen, Nicole wouldn't have allowed the writers of Best Gift Ever to have that moment at the end between Spike and Rarity. They wouldn't have had that moment put in there. They wouldn't have had Spike singing to Rarity his version of True Gift of Giving, which was a more romantic love song version to her. They wouldn't have had her have sparkles in her eyes when he did that, which is basically a sign in any romance scenario, live action or animated, of love, falling in love, realizing that, the person that's doing this for you cares about you more than just as a friend. They wouldn't have had that moment in there. They wouldn't have had that moment in there, but they did. They did have it in there. And if they didn't want it, it wouldn't have been there. Drag and Drop, that episode wouldn't have happened. Spike running towards Spike after he gets caught up by the tortoise in the Celestial Luna episode between Dawn and Dusk, or whatever it's called. The moment. point I'm getting at, guys, the point I'm getting at is none of these indications, none of these moments, none of these episodes wouldn't have happened, wouldn't have been in any of these, wouldn't have been in the series, let me put it that way, period, if they didn't want it in there. But they were, because they knew fans supported it, and in a way they kind of supported it themselves, and they, like the fans, found it to be cute and adorable. So, I get why fans feel the way that they do. I get the fact that there are fans that feel like it doesn't it doesn't make sense, it doesn't work. Why would Spike want to be with somebody that's manipulated him? Why would Rarity want to, be, associated with, that one word that starts with a P and everything? Well, why would they want to associate it with that? And da, da, da. Again, to go back to what James Rolfe said in that review he did on the Coming Out of the Shell Store mockumentary video. Gotta remember, they're not real. Stop acting like they're real. And what that means is basically you can ship whoever you want to ship. Period. End of discussion. I mean, if you want a good example, you want a good example of, that saying by James Rolfe of the not real, stop acting like the effing real. You want a good example of that when it comes to My Little Pony from a fictional standpoint? Check out Disney Barbaric. Check out Bride of Discord. Check out the following Daughter of Discord. And see who Spike gets paired up with there. Because you know who he gets paired up with? You know who falls in love with him? You know who admits her feelings to Zecora of all characters in that story? Applejack. Yeah, Applejack. And guess what? People will do compilation videos featuring moments between Applejack and Spike throughout the entire series, the same way they do it with Rowdy and Spike. Again, people need to realize that they're not real. They need to stop acting like they're real. And what that saying by James, in my opinion, does, because a lot of other people have said it too, is it opens the door to allow you to, fantasize and ship the characters the way you want to ship them. When I look at the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, ladies and gentlemen, when I look at that, I look at a franchise to where people will ship Tails with Sally. People will ship Tails with Amy. People ship Tails with Mina. In fact, Tails got shipped and married off to Mina in Mobius years later. Which Kim Penders did, and when Ian Flynn took that over in the Archie Sonic run of in the Archie Comics run of Sonic the Hedgehog, when Ken Penders came up with Mobius years later, he, even though it was supposed to be just a joke, he paired Tails off with Mina. And when Ian Flynn, when he took over, he could have easily ignored that, but he didn't. He being a fan himself, said, "Hey, I'm going to put this pairing together. I'm going to make sure it's official, and I'll come up with an idea of how they survived the timeline. They remember the old timeline and this new timeline, and so on. Again, he could have easily, abolished it, but he didn't. He didn't. Because of the fact that he actually was a fan of it, and he found a way to make it work. Probably just as good, if not better, than what Ken Penders would have done. And Ken Penders continued the story. You see what I'm saying? You kind of get what I'm saying, guys. I mean, Tails even gets shipped with Barbry, Barbry, the koala, and she's supposedly the same age as Sonic. And fans even ship him with Rouge. Oh, and sometimes they even ship him with Bunny. Heck, fans ship Sonic with Bunny. So fans ship Sonic with Rouge, Sonic with Blaze, Sonic with Sticks, Sonic with Whisper. I mean, guys, you have to understand what James Rolfe said in that review he did with Doug Walker over a decade ago is true. They're not real. Stop acting like they're effing real. And that applies to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And again, with James saying that and others saying something similar throughout the years and decades, it opens the door. It opens the door for fans like you, fans like George, fans like me, fans like of any kind, to ship who they want to ship. Period. Period. Okay? And if you want to know, I think the reason it was put into the show in the first place is because even though the show was aimed originally at a young audience, but gained a big, phenomenal, huge adult fan base, that was with it from the beginning to the end. You know why they put the ship in there? It's because all shows, no matter what kind of show they are, animated or live action, has to have a bit of romance in there. Even if it's a quasi, even if it's a quasi romance, a pseudo romance, an official romance, a semi romance, you name it. Either it's pseudo official, semi official, quasi official, there has to be romance in there, and that's why they put these two as a pair. And I think people need to wake up and realize that. They do. I mean, I'm a fan. One of the videos I got upcoming tomorrow that I filmed last week because, of course, of the summer break situation. One of the videos I filmed last week, I talked about the big chapter books and how they would treat the Bear Cub characters as teenagers. Well, guess what? One of the main characters are in that book. She's a main character in the 2003 series as well, animated wise by PBS. Queenie McBear. If Mike Berestein, along with his family, wanted to, they wouldn't have had to introduce Bonnie Brown into the series. Bonnie Brown became not only brother's neighbor, but also became his love interest from beginning to end. If they didn't want her to be in the series, you know who they would have placed instead in that role? Queenie. They would have placed Queenie. And guess what? Just like with Bonnie, it would have worked. And fans would have gotten behind it. Just like they got behind Bonnie and Brother, they would have gotten behind Queenie and Brother. As a matter of fact, I guarantee you, right now, I can tell you right now, I guarantee you, if they wanted to do a Berenstain Bears animated film, and they wanted to have a little bit of a romance in there, guess who that romance would be focused around? Brother and Queenie. Yes, they could bring Bonnie in if they want to, but if they don't want to bring Bonnie in and they just want to use already established characters, it would have been Queenie. Or it would be Queenie, I should say. It would be Queenie paired up with Brother. And that's a fact. Even if though people would say, oh, she's more associated with Too Tall and all that, guess what? Whoever writes a movie or new interpretation of a series and wants to do that can change things around, and they can make it official, at least for that interpretation. They can. You know. So to me, when people say that they're not real, stop acting like they're effing real. Again, like I said, that opens the door for people to do whatever they want. With the characters, to pair whoever they want to pair with. I'm a Rescue Ranger fan, Chippendale Rescue Ranger fan. And even though you take the 2002 parody satire movie, out of the equation, the meta movie that it was, you take that out of the equation. Guess what? And you just look at the regular series, you're gonna have people that want to pair Chip with Gadget or Dale with Gadget. I'm one of those people, along with AC Race Best's wife, Toodles, Sarah, if you will. I'm one of those people out of many, probably more so than you can think, that ships Dale with Gadget and truly believes that had a movie been made back in the early to mid 90s, that would have been part of the Disney Afternoon theatrical movie series. I feel that that movie would officially have made Dale and Gadget a couple. And that's a fact, just based on what you see in the series. So, again, what people need to understand in closing, and I say this with all due respect to everybody that has their opinions, even Blue Bolt, what they have to understand is this. Once again, like James Rolfe said in that video, They're not real. Stop acting like they're effing real. And what that means, and I say this in closing, isn't is you need to understand and respect that people are going to ship who they want to ship. End of discussion. They're going to want to pair who they want to pair because they know the characters are not real. And they can do whatever they want with them. They want to age them up, they're going to age them up. If they want to do a series where they get turned into the species of the character that's crushing on them or vice versa, they're going to do that. You know, they have all the rights and privileges to do that because they know that the characters are not real and they're not going to act like they're real. And I think that's a message we all need to live by. So again, in closing, I respect that everybody has their opinion. I do. But people also have to realize that those that have their own opinion as well are going to want to ship who they want to ship with. End of discussion. And they also have to realize, in closing, they have to realize, like I said earlier, if Lauren Faust, Megan McCarthy, Nicole Dubuque, Jim Miller, M.A. Larson, Amy Rogers, you name it, if they didn't want, any hints or indications or moments between Spike and Rarity to happen, guess what? They wouldn't have happened. But guess what? They did. Because they know fans are behind that ship, they enjoy that ship, and they want to see more of it. End of story. Heck, even the comic book, they did the holiday comic book several years ago. And one of the stories had Spike escorting Rarity to all these different events, basically as her date, if you will. So to me, that right there, even with the comic, symbolizes that they know there's something there between them. This even, I mean, I brought this up once, or many times. I'll bring it up again. Spike in the comics is the one that basically was the final piece of the puzzle that restored Rarity from Nightmare Rarity. He became her knight in shining armor. End of discussion. And then you have that one book they did for Finland only. I don't know if I'll ever get a translation. Where Spike temporarily got turned into a pony. Who's to say we didn't see some kind of interaction there? Because one of the cutie marks that he had appear on his backside was a heart with Rarity's face on it. So come on, seriously, if they didn't want it to happen, it wouldn't be happening. Let's leave it. So let's leave it at that, okay? And in closing, I know I'm saying that a lot, but in closing, again, to quote James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, from his first collab review with Doug Walker, to quote James Rolfe, to quote what he said, and I say this in closing, they're not real. Stop acting like they're effing real. So, with that said, I just wanted to come out here and do this, talk about it, and also get your thoughts, guys. Let me know how you feel down below. Comment if you like the video, ring the bell for notification, subscribe to the channel. Also click on the links in the description, guys. Helps me out, tremendously. If you click on my content outside of YouTube, helps me out tremendously, guys. But I want to just talk about this, and again, give me your thoughts and all that. But again, remember what people like James Rolfe said. To quote what James Rolfe said in that video he did over a decade ago with Doug Walker on the Coming Out of the Shells tour mockumentary, if you will. To quote what James Rolfe said, they're not real. Stop acting like they're real. And that also applies to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Because what that does is it opens the door to allow us to pair whoever we want to pair up, together, no matter who they are, what species they are, or how others look at them. But that's all I'm going to say, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until next time, I will talk to you later. God bless. Take care. I'm out.